In a nutshell, Konstantin, give us your program. If we vote Konstantin in to be supreme leader, how do we fight
We must
back?
kill the Jews.
How do we fight back?
The new Klaus Schwab.
I'm Jewish. It's okay.
How do we push back at it?
Sorry, was that too much for Flo? Was cringing over there.
Just the live stream,
Yeah, just for the live.
The jokes, guys. You remember them?
Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan? What do we do?
Well, I don't have a plan. What I think we do is we build alternative ecosystems in every way. I think we build alternative media. I think we build alternative education. I think we build alternative everything. And then let the market decide. Do you want your kids to be educated in a woke madrasa or not? And I don't think most people do. Do you want to watch media that is complete bullshit, or do you not? I don't think most people do. I think it's really as simple as that. And those of us who understand what's going on have a responsibility to step up. That's all it is. And, Andy Shaw is somewhere in the room. They created Comedy Unleashed. They're doing this in comedy. You're doing it with media. We're doing it with media. I think there's scope for bigger things. And eventually what will happen is there will be the not woke or anti-woke corporations that just come along and go, look, I don't care about this shit. I just want to sell condoms or wherever it is, right? And I think that's really the future. The future, for me, isn't woke or anti-woke. The future is post-woke. We've got to move beyond this craziness. And I think those of us who've been trying to push back against it, we've got some good results. We're actually winning people over. And maybe actually it's not us, it's them. They're winning people over for our side by going crazier and crazier and crazier. And eventually, I said this to you earlier, and I've said this a number of times. I don't think the British public want to turn on the TV screen to watch the England game, to see 3 ex-England football players talking about racism. I also, by the way, don't think they want to see someone talking about how BLM is a neo-Marxist organization. I have this deeply seated feeling that they just want to watch the football. Right. And so I think
it's quite kooky.
It's just weird, isn't it? They're mental. I think once that is available, that is what they will go for. But it has to be available, and someone has to build that.
So here's the bit that worries me a little bit, because we had Dave Rubin on our show, who is a YouTube host, and he was part of this thing called the intellectual dark web. It was this group of people who were self-professed liberals, and their idea was they weren't of the left or the right. They were just, truth seekers, and they were going to find some new common ground. And one by one, a lot of those characters have basically picked a tribe. After a year or 2 years or 3 years in the furnace of argument, they give up on this liberal notion that there is common ground. They give up on the idea that compromise is possible. And I guess if you're just into building alternative institutions, that's what I worry about. Are we now going to pick for all of our kids? We're going to choose a right-wing school, a left-wing school.
But that is the opposite of what I just said, right? I didn't say we need a football channel that talks about how BLM is a neo-Marxist organization. I just said we need a football channel that broadcasts football with none of this political crap. Right. And it's the same with education. It doesn't have to be an anti-woke education where you sit, breaking down critical theory for 5-year-olds. We just teach kids what they need to know to live life.
But the social justice kind of warrior believes in that binary. They have that in their head, that if you are not woke, you are anti-woke.
That's
so
fine.
how do you get over that? How do you survive that kind of binary?
I have no desire to speak to these woke extremists. I think there are a lot of people who fall into wokeness because they've never been exposed to different ideas. But those people that you're talking about, you're not going to win them over. They're the Taliban of this ideology, right? But there are lots of moderate Muslims that can be easily persuaded that this way of doing things isn't great. I don't think you win them over. And look, you look at history. I mean, this is kind of how it always goes. A small minority of people argue about what the mass of people should do. And let's see who wins.
But so do you give up on the existing mainstream institutions? That's really my question. Can the BBC be rescued? Can the universities be rescued? Or are we, as some people in America have gone down the path of it's time to create new universities, it's time to create new institutions? Where do you stand on that? Can what used to be these binding shared institutions be saved?
I wish they were able to be saved. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't, certainly my experiences within the BBC, and it's quite useful, again, coming back to your point about immigrant privilege being me, because I have dark skin, foreign name, blah, blah, blah. So when I used to go in there and didn't have any profile, they'd assume I'm one of them. And they talk openly about what their agenda is. And believe you me, they have an agenda. And I'm not talking about the executives at the top level. I'm talking about people at the lowest rungs of the BBC. They know what they're doing, and they say it in terms. We have the cultural reins of power in our hands, and it's time to, diversity, equity, all this other woke stuff. So, are you going to change that after you've employed a bunch of university graduates who all believe this? I don't know. Are you? The only thing I know is that isn't my fight, right? I can't do that. I can't change the BBC. I can't change the universities. I can do my bit, which is a small percentage of the media ecosystem. I can change that. And I am increasingly moving away from being anti-woke because some of the excesses of that side of things are starting to do my head in as well.
Such as?
I mean, you know that meme online of I support the current thing? Mm-hmm. We've now got to a point where quite a lot of people that I used to respect are in the position of I oppose the current thing. And to them, it's enough that the Guardian or the whatever is pro-Ukraine for them to lose their shit over it completely and start regurgitating crap about a country they couldn't find on a map, which most of them could.
Good, because we're going to get to Ukraine.
Good. I have some things to say to you about that.